Welcome back to All the Cars I've Loved Before, your authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia, where our guests are unique, each auto has an era, and every car tells a story. So yes indeed, it's time to plug in, get a little grease under the fingernails, and slip on that favorite car theme, t-shirt, hat, or jacket. So let's welcome back listeners all over this fine country and globe. We call it Cars Love Nation. Hey, for the first time, Doug, have you ever heard of Kazakhstan?
I have.
Other side of the planet. First time we've had a listener there. Really excited. We have some return listeners from Ireland. I was there.
You were?
Last summer. The driving is just a little bit of a head scratch. Other side of the road, very narrow road. I don't know why there have to be immovable rock walls covered in ivy very close to the road. A lot of trickery, but the car came back in one piece. Hey, welcome back, listeners, to in San Antonio, Texas, Portland, Oregon, Plano, Texas, Columbia, Maryland. That's close to you.
It is.
Detroit, Michigan. How about that? Motor City, and Tucson, Arizona. By the way, I think half of those cities are in the song Route 66. That's just struck me. Remember that song?
I do.
Route 66. I mean, I think they're all there. Get your kicks on Route 66. Yeah. Now, a couple of years ago, I visited Amarillo, which I think and they had like the historic 66, kind of where the whole thing started, this big plaque and a sign. And I got kind of a duplicate sign hanging up in I'll take a picture. Maybe we can get that on the photo carousel.
Please.
Hey, yeah, so do we have any new photos for the carousel? I think you did a lot of work. Speaking of, you did a lot of work on that. So let's chat about the website for a moment before we bring today's guests into our garage.
Okay. So, So I dug up a lot of pictures from our past.
Yes.
My past, your past.
And our listeners' past too, right? Or no?
Our listeners' past, yep.
Or guests, I should
sent
say.
us pictures, yep. We love pictures from our listeners too. You don't have to be on the show to submit a picture. Send us a great one. So I've been updating that. It went from 3 to 12. There's a picture of me that you took of that Ferrari in 2004 that we rented. The was it
348? I thought
348 TS. Yep. And that was good times.
That was good times. I don't recommend the top down in Vegas in August in the middle of the day. It's the greatest thing in the world first thing in the morning. But we did the whole circuit. We did the Strip. We did Hoover Dam, and then when it was time to bring it back noontime, we were melting. Dream Car Rentals, by the by, if Dream Car Rentals feels like sponsoring. So thanks for the update on the site. Good news, and visit. CarsLove.com is what we're talking about. CarsLove.com. You can reach out to us over email, which a lot of people like to do. Christian at CarsLove.com. He's Doug at CarsLove.com or info at CarsLove.com. I guess we just hired this guy named Info, and that's his email address. So feel free to reach out to him. Right? He's a new hire? I don't know.
Yeah. Info for short.
Speaking of so Pinstripe, you were out and about, and it was a little bit
picture.
I gotta tell you, we send pictures of cars back and forth to each other. Oh, I gotta send you this picture of I'm all into Jeeps right now, Jeep show, whatever, and I want to buy an old Jeep. That's my latest obsession. That if I weren't paying for kids to go to college, I would get. I saw an old Jeep Renegade in traffic, old. Beautiful, perfect. Mm-hmm. But anyway, toss it over to you.
Yes.
You sent a picture of, was it a CRX?
It was a first-gen Honda CRX. And
made my day.
Amazing shape, black. Yeah. And, after looking at the picture, I'm like, wow, there's a pinstripe on it, a red pinstripe. And even more interesting, the pinstripe wasn't faded. It was like perfect. I would assume somebody had that car repainted. It looked so good. Yeah. And they went through the trouble to add the pinstripe. But what do you think about pinstripes?
I love them. I love the fine detail.
Mm-hmm.
I had a car that was just this gorgeous green. It had the little gold pinstripe down the side. I like when they're intricate. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when I see pinstripe on a car and it's all kind of like maybe the Von Dutch styling or curvy and wavy. It reminds me of some tattoos people have on their arm or some like tribal tattoos, that sort of thing. Very personal, very personal.
Yep,
Which I think is fantastic.
You mentioned something about Von Dutch, right? And I think it was Ken Howard or Kenny Von Dutch, right? He became like the guy behind the scenes who made pinstripes popular. And I don't know if they're still popular on motorcycles, but that was a big place.
Absolutely. You see it everywhere. Yeah, it's one of these things where that was, that turned out to be his life's art. And then it just kind of moved on into the mainstream. Its name you'll see is kind of his, I don't know if it's its own fashion label, but you will see it there. I think it is. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, let's see. Oh, shirt. Yeah. We mentioned at the top of the hour, you got to slip on the shirt. So you've got a great one on today.
Yep. So believe it or not, great deal at Old Navy, Back to the Future, Flying DeLorean. Not too gaudy, actually.
No. And Old Navy, if you feel like giving us some money, that's fine too. But dig it, fantastic.
I've been giving them money for years. So
we've talked about indeed. We've talked about shirts. We've talked about pinstriping. We've talked about so it is time to pivot and get to today's guest. So, Doug, how did today's very special guest make their way into our virtual garage?
So, our very special guest. In listening to lots of podcasts, I came across her podcast, Be Differential, and great podcast, all about mostly about women in automobiles and motorsport industries. So, and we've had such great, father daughters, just women who've grown up in the motorsports or just got involved. Maybe they wanted to do something with their dad. Maybe they went to one of the colleges Weber State or McPherson, right? And they want to do
students
cars.
To professionals, from hobbyists to racers, everybody else. Eva Gregory, welcome in. How are you today?
I'm so well. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and thank you for having me.
Not as much as we are. So it's wow, we're just kind of having an idol on the show here. So very pleased that you visited our garage. So what have you been into recently? What have you so much going on in your world with the YouTube, the podcast? Where do you start? What's the latest?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I definitely have a lot going on, but I'll actually speak to something that is about to be a project that I'm beginning. I have a 69 Beetle that's been living up in Pennsylvania for the past couple of years, and next month I'm going to go pick it up and drive it down so I can Baja it out and begin that build to hopefully compete in it pretty soon here. So that's most pressing, but always ongoing project.
I love that. So wait a minute, Pennsylvania, is that where you grew up?
So my family's from up north between Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and upstate New York. But I have my dad's living up there and has been for the past couple of years. So it's been on his property.
Roger Dodger. So does it get driven much? Is there an undercoat of rust on it? Is that what we got to work on? Or
there's certainly an undercoat of rust. My dad does start it, but he does not drive it as often as I would probably like him to, but that's okay. We're keeping it alive. And really, I mean, the goal is to drive it down. It's around a 700-mile trail path from where he lives to where I live. Yeah. So the goal is to kind of do a little test run and then do a complete through, overhaul of what needs to be done and what needs to be assessed.
So what are the odds it'll make it down driving itself? Are you going to have kind of a trailing car, or will you be behind the driver's seat of this car while it's on the flatbed of an 18-wheeler, which is probably what are the odds? What is Vegas saying about all that?
So I actually dailied this car in college. It was my only vehicle. And I replaced the engine in it myself with one other kind of mentor and some YouTube videos in 2020. So I think that the survival rate is actually pretty decent. And luckily, I am very acutely aware of its inner workings. And if I'm on the side of the road, I have confidence that we can get it back on the road.
Absolutely. So yeah, you know where all the skeletons are in that particular rolling closet, which I love. And I can just feel the waves. Doug's head is about to explode with all the wonderful avenues of discussion we have here. Where do we start, Doug? Where do we go with this right now?
Yeah. Well, I think we go back to everybody's first car, right?
Yeah.
We hop in the time machine, right? It's on my shirt.
Let's do it.
And we go all the way back to Ava's first car, which was?
It was a 99 Honda CRV. And I would like to preface that I did not grow up in the automotive space or have that hobby and interest. So it was very much point A to point B, what I could afford, what my options were. So yeah, 99 Honda CRV was my old trusty for multiple years until I obliterated it, but that's okay.
Obliterated? Well, before it got obliterated, how did you find it?
Yeah, so actually my dad found it. I mean, I was young, so it was something he did the, online searches at the time and came across it, and it just worked out to be a really good deal. From what I recall, it was like $3,500. Now I will say this was an older model even when I purchased it, so it had quite the life on it already, but it served me many memories.
And it's funny, my daughter's first car is a CRV as well. I think it's a 2014.
All right, now let's pray to the skies above that it doesn't meet the same end as Ava's did. Not that we're at that point yet, and I don't want to bring up memories, and I don't want to step on Doug's toes.
You're giving it away, but
called a segue in media.
Well, it's funny. We've talked to a few people. What happened to your first car? I think about Cash. He's like, I still have it. What happened to your second car? He's like, I still have it. Right. So Eva, you couldn't have your first car without a second car, but what happened to your first car?
So I would also like to preface, this is not a testimony of my driving skills, but I did total the vehicle. I had it in college, and prior to totaling it, I really did have so many great memories with this car. And I went to college in North Georgia, so it was a mountain town. It was, the start of the Appalachian Trail, whatever. I used to work at Atlanta Motorsports Park and was on my way to work one day. And it had just started raining as I was going around this wide curve. And when that happened, I began hydroplaning and understeering. And when that happened and I went to correct it, instead of the wheels that kind of inverting how you would anticipate, they locked up completely. So I actually slid sideways. And luckily, it was just me. There was nobody else involved in my car or any other vehicles. But I slid through a turning lane and then hit a curb. And when I hit the curb, I flipped and rolled 2.5 times. And I landed driver's side down, and my seatbelt was stuck. And so I just kind of was there for a minute, and like I said, I was on my way to work. So I called a colleague, my boss at the time, and now great mentor and family friend. But I called him to let him know that I wasn't going to make it in, and said, I got in an accident. I'm okay. But I was still sideways when I was on the phone with him. And he said, okay, I'll call him to let them know. So at that point in time, I had always carried a pocket knife and cut myself free once I kind of came to, I guess, and cut myself free, climbed out. And who he had called was my roommate at the time, who was working, and got the call that I was in an accident. So she called my phone, and I was just standing on the side of the road next to my sideways car before any emergency vehicles or anything arrived. And when the paramedics showed up, I was literally on the call, and I was like, hey, I've got to let you go. Like, they're here. And when they arrived, they didn't know who got in the accident, because I was truly fine. And I walked up to them and said, hey, how's it going? And they were like, we should ask you that. And I said, fingers, toes moving, like, we're good. But unfortunately, cosmetically, because of the age, I did total it. So that was unfortunate. And then I got the 69 Beetle.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were pretty, I don't know at the time, but you were pretty calm in that scenario.
Yeah, I really do handle stressful situations well. Like and it was so funny. I just, even more a tangent, but I called an ex-boyfriend at the time to come pick me up, because I was about 1.5 miles away from where I lived. And, I called to say, hey, like, can you just bring me home? I got in an accident. And he pulled up and parked and was just flabbergasted to see my car sideways. And he was like, I thought you got in like a fender bender. And I was like, I would not have called you if I got in a fender bender. So yeah, it was handled very well, fortunately. Definitely unfortunate circumstances, but it was all ended up being okay. And it set me on the trajectory to where I've been able to experience.
Yeah. No, so, I'm sure that helped you out. Go ahead, Christian.
You just want to get in here. So you mentioned something about the Atlanta Motor Speedway that you worked for.
Motorsports Park.
Atlanta Sports Park.
So there's two different facilities. Atlanta Motor Speedway is south of Atlanta and Hampton, and Atlanta Motorsports Park is in Dawsonville. So one is a NASCAR-owned track, and one is a like private club track. So they have a go-karting facility and a main car course.
Is that where you got bitten by the odd? Yeah, she got a big nod. Okay, we can talk about that now or later. But what an influential place to start.
Yeah. No, and I'm just thinking about our last episode, Christian, with Nigel Tunnicliffe. Right. So CEO of Coastline Academy, Coastline. I don't know if you've heard of them, but driving school. And Christian's teaching his youngest son how to drive, and he found these great videos, and one of them was what to do in an accident. And maybe we should have one by Eva that says what to do if your CRV flips over. Truly.
And I will say I have since done driving courses and know what to do. God forbid, there's a next time. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but she strikes me as one of these unique people with just ice water in the veins. Always, whether you look at her content, you listen to it, very unflappable. But okay, I'm going to be quiet. This is Doug's portion. Here's the baton.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Oh, okay. So the car got totaled, sadly.
It did.
Yep. But I think the next car, along with your career, right? Or maybe the next car really steered you in that direction, so to speak, with manual steering, different than the power steering of the Honda CR-V. So what was your second car?
My second vehicle was a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle, Savannah beige. And I found it at a car show. It was a Volkswagen car meet. I was on my way out and saw it drive in with a for sale sign and had to go back for it.
Nice. And how long after was that pretty soon after the CR-V met its fate?
It was pretty soon after. I think probably just a couple months, definitely less than 6 months. So yeah, not too far. I think it was I think I totaled my car in October, and then I think I had the Beetle by April. So yeah, not too far.
Okay. And you just happened to be at a car show because liking cars, right?
Absolutely.
Getting that bug, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Bugs. And Christian, you went to a car show in Florida called the Great
Rare Air
Show.
Oh, yeah. Rare Air. Oh, fabulous. That's a great show.
Yeah. Oh, you've been to it as well?
I have.
Yeah. Okay. So is it a moving show, or you've been to it where in Pensacola where Christian is?
There was a version of it hosted in Atlanta.
Okay.
So yeah, it was there's been a couple years. It's typically held at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta.
Oh, that's cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah. The one down here was held on the grounds of Five Flags Speedway, which is a well-known regional racetrack that hosts the Snowball Derby, which a lot of our listeners will know. It's a very famous short track race here. But yeah, tons of space for everybody. Great day. I think it was in the fall. Of last year. So the perfect weather. But yeah. Yes, Doug.
Yeah. So and you still have this Volkswagen, right?
I do, yeah. So there was a sale that transacted a couple years ago, but it has made its way back to the family and is up in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Cool. And we found so many stories like that. People just buying back their first cars, tracing them back, which apparently in the UK is a lot easier because they keep, Christian, what did Dirk tell us? One of our other, they keep the same license plate for the life of the car.
Oh.
License plate stays with the car. So actually, when you've got, I think the string convention is the first 3 or 4 characters are actually the letters of either the town or kind of the signifier of the town. The way that, every airport is known by a 3-letter signifier. So the first few letters of the signifier of kind of the town or the local DMV. So you always kind of have an idea of where it was originally titled. Which,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was so interesting. Where here in the States, it's just all I've ever seen, unless you get a vanity plate. Since I'm not vain, I wouldn't know anything about that. It's just a random string of letters and numbers. There's no intelligence built into the system.
Yep.
I thought that was really clever.
Well, it becomes a scavenger hunt of, challenge in the States, right? To figure it out. Yep. Yeah. And God, I can't stop thinking about it. Past episode with McPherson, Chris Paulson actually teaches a class, not just on automotive history, but how to research the origins of your automobile, right?
Cool.
Yeah, that was so
interesting to know. And while we're on the history of cars here, while you're teeing up the next question, I was in an antique store. I really enjoy antiquing. I was in an antique store and I saw this license plate or a rack of license plate. They're like $50 a pop. I said, what is it with these license? Nobody wants these. What is it? Well, come to find out, license plate collecting is a big deal. It's the big thing. I don't know if it's the world over, but you're not just going to go get now I'm talking about kind of, old, very interesting looking license plates, but it's a thing. They have shows, they have swap meets, they have all this sort of thing. Swap it's like record collecting or baseball card collecting or something like that. Anyway, just wanted to worthless bomb information, some bit of trivia in there. Back to you. Back to you with that breaking news.
Yeah, thank you.
With that breaking worthless news.
Yeah. So the Beetle became a big part, but you still have it. And earlier you mentioned you're going to pick it up from Pennsylvania, drive it back, fingers crossed, down south about 700 miles and turn it into a
Baja Bug. The goal is to completely Baja rally it out and compete in the 1000.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very great. Very great. Yeah. Yep. So, go ahead.
Oh, no. So I did want to ask about, because every Volkswagen tells a story I've heard. You have another Volkswagen, a red one. Can you tell us about it? And is that your daily driver or is it a...
I have a 72 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. Nice. And Karmann Ghia was the dream. And I couldn't afford it. So at the same show that I ended up buying the Beetle from, was the first time that I saw a Karmann Ghia in person. And this sounds so dramatic, but it literally brought a tear to my eye. And I am a big journaler, and I literally journaled, like, I'm going to find that Ghia. And while I didn't find the exact same one, I did find a red Ghia a couple years later. So while I bought the Bug that day, I held on to that dream of the Ghia, and the opportunity came up in 2023 now. I purchased it not far from where I live. And it was a great story of a father-son who had bought it to work on and have a project together. And now it's become my project. And it's been an amazing experience. It is not my daily. I have an Audi A4 that's my daily, but the Karmann Ghia I do use most weekends and definitely drive it at least once a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to see some, so I would like to talk about Hagerty's here at some point. Is it okay if we talk about your day job and kind of like your past, moving through the ranks? It's and moving up quite quickly, I think is very interesting. So how did you get into when did you decide that you wanted to do that for a living, and to what do you attribute your rapid success?
This is so funny. I started in the industry by complete accident. It was never the goal. I once thought I was going to be an attorney. I once thought I was going to teach English as a second language internationally. And I am very far from either of those things. So when I was in college, as most people, I was financially independent. I was working 2 jobs and needed a third. So that's how I found Atlanta Motorsports Park. They were still under construction. It was still very much in its elementary stages. And in working there, I literally began as a cashier. That was my only previous work experience. And I ended up getting cross-trained in every role between corner marshal, pit stewarding, mechanic role, and then ended up creating a position that was really focused on marketing for their memberships because there was a missing piece there. During my time at AMP, I had people in my life that really, really fully inundated me in it. People that became really good friends and still strong impact in my life now. And they were very heavily involved in classic air-cooled German vehicles. And then some newer, a 996 was one of my first memories with friends there. And just totally got exposed and inundated. And then once those relationships began, getting nurtured and developing, I got really involved in working on those vehicles and worked on some air-cooled Porsches, specifically a 79 911 SC that was built to mimic an East African safari rally race. And it was just some really, really cool experiences. And so many of my fond memories from college, which is when I worked at AMP, were on those mountain drives, late night drives through North Georgia, up into North Carolina, and just getting to experience what a visceral feeling of an air-cooled vehicle is. And so that's how I said, okay, this is where I want to stay. I fell in love with the hobby enthusiast side. And then the people were just so important to my life. And I was fascinated. Every car person has so many interesting stories. And so after my time at Atlanta Motorsports Park, an opportunity came where I was able to move to Road Atlanta, now Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and grew in the ranks pretty quickly there as well. So I started there actually as a corner marshal and ended up growing and evolving into hospitality, sales, and finished as director of operations before joining Hagerty now.
Wow. Well, that is quite the story. That's a lot going on there. So, well, again, congratulations for all the success. And I wanted to chat a minute okay, so you have two things that really interested Doug and I from the get-go was your YouTube channel, which I think is so accessible and so well done. Kudos to you and your team. But also the podcast. And it's been really great talking to you because we feel like we're talking to kind of a fellow pro here. So how did the podcast come about? And what is the most unexpected, pleasant thing that you've learned about the whole experience of producing one, being that you have one?
That's such a fun question. So the podcast really derived from attending the Women with Drive Summit in 2023. And this is an event that's hosted by Women in Motorsports North America. And I was just blown away by the impact. It's no secret that this is a male-dominated industry, right? And while so much change and improvement has occurred, there's still certainly a lot of work to be done, not just for women, but for underrepresented groups across the board. And when I went to that summit, I was just really, really inspired by how many people I didn't know their stories. And the fact that in motorsports, you most often see, drivers and professionals, team owners, people that are in the spotlight. So I really literally left the summit on my flight home, filled out 10 pages of a notebook of what my vision for this podcast was, what was missing, what I wanted the mission to be, what dream guests I had, and what topics I wanted to cover. And then I just started texting some folks in my network and saying, hey, I'm kind of thinking about this. Does this sound ridiculous? And then if not, would you be willing to join? And it really, it's been just over a year now since I've started and launched the podcast. I launched it in March of 2024.
Us too.
I love that.
Same month.
And it's the most surprising positive thing has just been, and no matter how deep I've been in this, I'm in the industry for almost 10 years now. There's so many untold stories and there's so many avenues and entry points that people are just not aware of at all. And so that's really, I'm still learning every day that I get to be a part of it and join in it. And it's been really, really cool to create an opportunity that elevates other people.
I dig that. That's well stated. That's one of the things that I like so much about this show that Doug and I are growing is just the amazing people we never would have met otherwise. And they're not all in the car industry like yourself.
Right.
They have a passion, but they have these other jobs, police people, EMT people, retired lawyers, up and down the spectrum. But everybody everybody has these wonderful stories, and it's really just subtext as a way to get to know somebody. So, okay, so did the YouTube channel, we found for us that was a logical extension of the podcast to sort of get the word out. Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, truly, I was really apprehensive to start the YouTube because I really wanted to put quality content out. And I felt that my audio is good quality, but I was less confident in my video and editing and so on. But yeah, absolutely. It was one of those things where I just wanted, and no matter what your access point is or what your interest is, some people don't enjoy listening to podcasts. Some people want to watch it. So yeah, it was just another platform to really broaden who it could reach and who might be interested.
Fantastic. Good stuff. And before we ramp the show down, I'm going to toss the baton back to here. Look, here's a baton. I'm handing it. No, it's a screwdriver. Sorry.
Looks
Doug,
like a
take
screwdriver.
it. Let's go.
Yeah. So you've had a lot of cars, and there are a lot of great car stories. Hopefully the Volkswagen will end up on YouTube again on its journey down south. But what is your dream car, Eva? Given all the cars that you've seen, ridden in, learn about in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, the goal has always been a 356, and that has been the goal since the beginning. And it's an affordability. It's getting there, right? I'm on the journey. I'm in the family, but specifically a split window 356 is really just, that has stolen my heart. I have memories in 356s and driving, being a passenger, and when I own that car, I will know that I have made it.
I heard Seinfeld has one. Might be for sale.
Probably can't afford Seinfeld.
Yeah, well, you never know if you don't ask.
Just start a sitcom. You'll make it. We have all the faith in the world in you. Great answer.
Or just stick with YouTube. She's doing great.
You're gonna get there.
She is.
Yeah, we have all the faith in the world. So as we guide the podcast gently to the off ramp here, one question for you. One last question on the way out. Okay, so do Karmann Ghias come with steering wheels? Are they changeable? And what do you know about that?
I love this. So timely, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. They come with steering wheels, and depending on the era, some of them are more aesthetically pleasing than others. When I purchased my 72, the previous owner and his son had really tried to hot rod it out. So there were choices that I personally would not have made. So when I bought it, I knew immediately I wanted to change it. And despite mine being a 72, I actually bought an aftermarket. It's dated up to 71. Very easy to change out. Very, very, one bolt switches it super quick. But I feel like it just speaks to the character and makes it much more a representation of who I am through that vehicle.
Absolutely. And just, again, we have to give so much praise to your YouTube channel, because that thing that you just described is the perfect little YouTube video. It's everything YouTube should be: quick, clever, fun, educational. You struggle with the horn. You have to rewire some sort of horn button, and it's so engaging and fast. And I think it's great. So, hey, we appreciate you taking some time this afternoon to take us through your world a little bit, Eva. It was a distinct pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
And I would say a prayer that you can make it from Pennsylvania to where you are right now, but you won't need it. All the faith in the world. Yeah,
I will say, I'll give that personal plug. If you guys want to follow along, I'm sure the journey will be documented. So Be Differential podcast.
Boom. Mic drop. That's it. Well, thank you again, Eva.
Thank you.
Distinct pleasure. And you have just heard the high revving, low mileage, late model, heard round the world authoritative podcast on Automotive Nostalgia. He's Doug. Reach him at doug@carslove.com. I'm Christian. Reach me at christian@carslove.com. Please follow and tell a friend. If you like what you're hearing, leave a review. That helps us grow. Try out carslove.com for a lot of fun, engaging content, as well as what we call the carousel of memories. Send us a picture of your cars or our link tree. Doug, let's give it to them at
linktr.ee/cars loved.
That's it. I am sure we'll see you at the next local car show, showroom, race, or race trip. We appreciate you taking a lap with us, and we'll see you next time.